Hello everybody, welcome back. Today's video is Stamping for Beginners Part 2. Somebody watched Stamping for Beginners, which is a video I put out last year, I think. And they asked me to show how you use various different stamps as like a follow-up video. Now I have to apologise because the request came in several months ago and I just haven't had the opportunity until now to sit down and think about what I wanted to show in this video, and even just to sit down and film the video. Life's just been that crazy. So I really apologise for how long it's taken to do this video. I'm going to try and cover off as much as I can today. If you haven't seen Stamping for Beginners, I'll leave it linked in the description box so you can loop back a video. But this is kind of like a part 2 to that video. So I hope you'll find it useful, and let's just jump straight into it. So I've got various different stamps in front of me today. I have a rubber mounted stamp, which is on a wood block. I've got a polymer type stamp. And then I have this one. This one is technically a rubber stamp, but it's not looking the same as this. So we're going to kind of cover off how you use that one as well. Now, I think the first thing you need to think about when you're doing stamping is, what is your vision? How do you want your finished card or project to look? Is it something you're going to need to colour? Is the stamped image going to be the focal image, or is it more a background piece? Like, what do you want to achieve? Because this will affect not only the cardstock you use, but it will also affect the ink you're going to use. So, for example, if you were wanting to heat emboss, you would need to use the Versamark ink. This is a watermark stamp. This is what an old one looks like. If you bought this new, it wouldn't have all the black marks. But it's a watery based pad. And then you would stamp it out, tip the embossing powder over the top and heat it, and it will melt the embossing powder onto your cardstock. And then you can ink over the top of it, or you can use it to watercolour. There's all kinds of things you can do. Lots of different techniques. You can also use this as part of the black ice technique, which is very nice. I've done that on the channel before. I'll try and remember to link it in the description box in case you want to have a little look. But there's loads of different things you can do with heat embossing. That's going to be a whole different video. But yeah, if you want to heat emboss, you're going to need Versamark ink. If you were wanting to stamp onto a shiny surface or acetate or something like that, you would need StazOn ink. Now this smells like marzipan. It's not everyone's cup of tea. This again would be used for black ice technique as well. But this is a solvent based ink, and you have to make sure you clean this off really, really well, or it will affect the stamps over time. So that's StazOn. If you were wanting to use alcohol markers to colour your image, so if you were going to use this one, and you were wanting to colour in your image using alcohol markers, the best ink to use for that is Memento, because this doesn't bleed through to the markers. It dries quite quickly. It's a really nice ink. It gives a good impression. So you would be using Memento ink. If you were wanting to colour your image with pencils, or if you were doing something like this where it's a silhouette type stamp, you could use VersaFine ink. Now I love this. This is my go-to ink. This gives a really nice crisp, clear impression even every time. This is what I use 90% of the time. Now this one is a pigment ink, and it also stays wet for slightly longer, so you can also heat emboss with this one. So this is a great all-rounder ink. I really, really like this one. And there are so many more inks on the market than what I've shown you. It's just, I thought I'd just pick like 4, 5 and just go through a few of them with you. So if you were wanting to watercolour, you would need to use watercolour cardstock to do so, because it will absorb the water, it won't wrinkle, it won't crease. When you're stamping, you do want to use a good quality cardstock, ideally something that is like plain and not textured, but it's entirely up to you. For today, I'm just going to show you using this card base, which, as you can see, fell out of the envelope thing. It was kept in and it's been walked over and all sorts, so I'm just using this as scrap. But this is a nice quality and it's super fine. There's no texture on there at all. Okay, so let's get down to the stamping part. So I'm going to just use, for now, excuse my arm, I'm going to use the best fine. Okay, so with the rubber stamps, all you need to do is ink it up. So the best way to do it is to bring your stamp to the block and just give it a tap, 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 tap. That's all you need to do. You can see you've got a nice coverage there. And then all you need to do is place it where you want it and push down quite hard. Hold it down for a little bit so that the ink can absorb from the stamp onto your cardstock. If it's quite a large one like this, you could, if you're careful, give it a slight rub over the top. But you do want to be careful not to move the stamp, or you will get what they call ghosting. It's when it does a double stamp because it's moved and it doesn't look nice. And then you'd have to start over again, really. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up. And you can see there's still a little bit of ink on there, but I've got a really nice crisp image there that I could then colour and shade in, cut out, do whatever I wanted with it. You then clean it off. I use microfiber cloths just to clean my stamps off. You can get stamp cleaners, which I will grab and show you in just a second. There's several on the market. And just get the bulk of the ink off. Now, the only thing I personally don't like about rubber stamps like this is if I hadn't got a good image and I re-ink, I then can't really see where I'm placing the stamp to re-go over the image, if you get me. So I could then miss the image, I could get the ghost stamp in, I could end up stamping off the image. It would just be a hot mess. So I don't tend to use these kind of stamps that often, if I'm honest. So this is a stamp cleaner that I was talking about. This is a Stampendous, I really like that word, rubber stamp cleaner. So you take the lid off. It's got an applicator, mine's really black from where it's been and quite used, and just kind of squeeze the bottle and rub it over the top. The liquid inside comes out onto your rubber stamp and give it a bit of a rub, and it helps lift the ink off. And then you can see where it's wet there. You can just go back over it with your cloth. Just helps get the final bits of ink off. It's all different brands for this one. I believe there's some for like the stays on as well, but I normally just use a microfiber cloth. A lot of the manufacturers recommend warm soapy water. Definitely, if your stamps do lose stick, if you wash them in warm soapy water and then leave them to air dry, they get the stick back. Okay, so that is rubber stamping. That's all there is to it. Ink your stamp up, push it down, you're done. Now, my preferred way of stamping is to use a stamping platform. So this one, I forget the brand of, actually I've had it ages. I absolutely love this one. I did buy extra magnets for it because I did temporarily misplace one, and then obviously as soon as I'd bought 2 new ones, the other one turned up. But I now do have 4. I do use them all together occasionally. Now this one is great because it's got the magnetic base, which is great because it will hold your cardstock in place. I'll show you that in a second. It has got the grid system, so you can line stamps up using the grid. It's got the measurements around the side and the grid around the side. It has the foam with it, so this helps you get a good impression. But you can also take this out, and then if you've got rubber stamps like this one or thicker ones, you've got the extra room you need once they're mounted to stamp using your stamping platform. So we'll come on to that in a second, but just to show you, this is one I've kind of already been and done this morning. These are quite thick, so they need a bit of extra room on your platform. But we will come to that in good time. For now, we are going to be playing with the acrylic stamp. So we'll put the foam in. We're going to use the magnets. Now I like to personally put everything up into a corner, because if anything does move, it's easy then to line it all back up again. Hold everything in place with the magnets, and then all you really need to do is take your stamp off of the release papers, position it where you'd like it to be, close the lid of your stamp platform, push down so it adheres, and then again you just ink it up using your ink. Take the ink to the stamp. My apologies for any wobbling. Now this is a stamp I bought in January and I've never used it yet. Close the lid, hold it down. Now there's many ways to do this. Some people will just hold the lid down. Some people will use their sleeve and apply pressure over the top. Because you've held the cardstock down with magnets, nothing should move. It's not to say it won't, but it shouldn't. Some people will use their sleeve. Some people will use a cloth. Give it a rub just to apply nice even pressure. There are stamping tools called xoxos, which is a round device that you hold and you move over the top of your platform. I have got a Yankee candle lid which does exactly the same, and obviously was a reuse recycle kind of job once the candle was finished, because the xoxos, they go, I don't know, £10 I think I've seen them for, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. But they're great if you have dexterity issues, ambidexterity, you know, issues with your wrists or your hands. Okay, let's have a look. So I've got quite a good impression there, but if I wanted to try and get rid of some of that white, if I bring it up, you can see there's a little bit of white showing through. What I can now do, because it's all held in place, I can go back in, re-ink my stamp, close it down. That will go straight back over where it was before. Let the ink transfer. We'll give it a little rub. And that's got rid of some of the white. There's still a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. I love silhouette stamps. I think they're absolutely beautiful. They save you having to colour in. You could heat emboss that and do it in an embossing powder. You could do that in another colour if you have the Versacolor inks. They are beautiful, but I really like black silhouette stamping. I just think it looks beautiful, and there's so many different techniques you can do with that as well. I have done some techniques using silhouette stamping on the channel, so if you want to have a look through the playlist, you will find videos talking about that. But that's the easiest way to use this kind of stamp. If you don't have a stamping platform, it's not the end of the world, because you can get, let's just put the magnets on here so I don't lose them, you can get acrylic blocks. So they come in all different shapes or sizes. This is just the one I happen to have to hand right now. I like this one because it's got the deckled edges, which make it easier to hold. But with this, again, you're just going to take the stamp off the release paper, you position it on the acrylic block, then you ink your stamp up. And you can position it over your paper and apply it to the cardstock. Again, hold it down, let the ink absorb from the stamp onto the cardstock. Give it a good firm press, but try not to move it, because if you flip it up, it could result in the ghost stamping. Okay. So you can see I've missed a bit, and you can see it's still on the stamp because the block is acrylic and you can see through the stamp. You should be able to line up, reposition exactly, and restamp without getting ghosting, which is great. So that is the acrylic blocks. They come in all shapes and sizes. They're not expensive to buy, and I would say get a variety of sizes for your different stamps. Okay, let's move on. So some stamps that you buy will look like this. So they're red rubber and they're flat on the back. Now these ones, ideally you need to mount, like I had with this one that I showed you earlier. See how it's slightly thicker? This started out like this. So I'm going to show you how to mount the stamps. Now I started off with this one. I cut a big piece of the foam that I'm going to show you, and then I used the offcuts from my foam to mount 2 more stamps. Okay, so don't necessarily throw away your offcuts just because they're offcuts. Also, don't use your best scissors to do this because you're going to be getting them all sticky. So if you buy red rubber stamps which need mounting, you're going to need to buy some mounting foam. Now I've got the Sticks 2 A4 mount and stamp foam. I bought this off of Amazon. This was recommended to me by people that use Stampscape stamps a lot, and honestly this stuff is great. It wasn't expensive at all, and it does have the instructions on the front which are very easy to follow, but I'm going to show you really quickly how to do it. So you've got a white release paper and you have the grey side. What you want to do is cut a piece of this foam that's a bit bigger than your stamp. So I'm just going to put that there so I can see where it is. I don't want to waste too much, so I'm not going massively bigger than my stamp. just a little bit bigger, because I do not like waste. Okay, so once you have cut that slightly bigger than your stamp, you're going to release the white paper. Okay, that gives a really sticky side, and then really carefully position your stamp on the sticky side like that, so the flat side is on the sticky. And then this is why you don't want to use your best scissors. You're really carefully going to trim around the stamp. As I said, I kept my offcuts earlier. I probably won't keep these because these are going to be minute, but it did mean that I was able to mount other stamps without cutting a new piece of foam. And some stamps that will need mounting won't be red. I will show you an example in a second. There we go. So it's that quick and easy to mount the stamp. Okay, and then on the back of this, there's actually, I don't know if you can see, a clear plastic, which you would peel away when you want to use it on your image. So just for now, I'm going to put it in the packet so I don't lose it, because I actually want to keep that. But I can now put this on my block, or I'll show you how it works in the stamping platform. So for this part, I'm going to take out the black foam. I'm going to put my cardstock in the corner. So that's all butted up against the edge. I'm going to place my stamp on the cardstock just there, because that's where I want the image. I'm going to close the lid. That picks up the stamp. Ink that up. And push down. And there I have my image. Isn't that beautiful? So clean it off, and then I just want to put that release paper back on. It's gone. I'll find it in a minute. I'd put the release paper back on the back. I'm going to store these in their packets so that I always know which one it is. But there you go. That is various different ways to use the stamps. So this is another type that would need mounting. You can see it's not rubber, red rubber on the back. This potentially at one point may have been on a block, because some people will demount them. Some people get them like this and then strip them off, and you're left with something like this. So this one, again, I can cut the foam and then I'll be able to use it in my stamp platform. So this one was actually given to me. It came in a mystery bundle that my friend bought me, and I've never been able to use it because I didn't have the mount and stamp foam, but now I do. So I'm really looking forward to playing with that, and that will actually make a really nice what's this, A6 card, because that's basically what the stamp is. So I'm going to be playing with that very soon. So there are various different types of stamps. There are many different techniques you can do with stamps. I really enjoy stamping. I really enjoy playing with stamps, and I do want to do more videos using stamps. It's just at the moment finding the time. as I say, have a think about how you want to colour your images. You can use pencil crayons, you can use alcohol markers, you can use watercolours, you can use inks. There are just so many different ways to colour your images. If you want to do silhouette stamping, you don't even need to colour them, and you can just do a really nice technique and stamp your silhouette and you're done. There are so many different ways to use stamps. They are so versatile, they are so fun, and it's definitely something I want to revisit on the channel. But I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. I really hope it's answered some questions. I do apologise at how long it's taken me to get this video up. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know if you would be interested in the future in an embossing for beginners video. That is something I do plan to do. It's on the list, the ever-growing list of videos I want to do. But let me know if that's of any interest. And thank you so much for watching today. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel grow and reach more people. And if you've enjoyed today's video, please leave it a big thumbs up. So until next time, take really good care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.